This episode of the podcast is sponsored by my book, We Stand on the Shoulders of Titans, Amnesia.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. How you doing today, guys?
Not bad. I'm tired, but yeah. It's what the weekend's for, right? Resting.
Yes, indeed. And how about yourself, Dominic?
Well, I had a good vacation, so I'm feeling fresh. Just back
Great
from the
stuff.
gym.
Oh, rub it in. Go on.
We're also joined by Trin today. How you doing yourself?
Doing fine. How about you?
Yeah, great to have you back on the show. So it is. We had an interesting conversation last time about, things to do with things, and wanted to get you on today's show to talk about AI. So, how you feeling about AI? What's your opinions?
Well, artificial intelligence as it stands is a pretty divisive topic. Besides the fact that it's not actually intelligent, it's extremely artificial, and it is threatening to create the disruption of a lot of different industries. And they're taking our gerbs problem that people usually bring up basically within the first two things when involving any AI situation. There's a lot of things to go on about AI. Is there anything specific you want to deal with first?
Well, I mean, we could look into all different aspects. You said there about taking your jobs, and that is definitely one thing that seems prevalent in today's society is that AI is taking over certain jobs, especially like jobs like data entry, security, things like that. Well, more on a cyber security level, I would say. Where AI is coming in to help counteract attacks. Is that the feeling you're getting as well?
In
Isn't it
a
done to? Isn't it done to do attacks as well?
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
recording and things like that as well.
yeah, as I was going just about to say, there's a AI is being used on both sides in cybersecurity, as one might expect, and just like in pretty much any situation. AI both makes it easier to do some of the most basic analysis in cybersecurity, though the environments of a cybersecurity are too delicate to entrust entirely to AI decision making. So there's still a lot of human observation involved in that, but it does speed up a lot of the basic checks that one would do in order to verify whether a specific activity could be malicious or not.
We are
On
talking about
the
LLMs, right?
Large
uh,
large language models.
Yes, various forms of LLMs that have been trained for specific purposes. Although on the attack side, it is also making things more complicated. I've seen AIs be used for obviously you see AI use AI coding as well as the use of AIs to create more sophisticated phishing models to try to
Yeah,
trick people. So, and it's going to be the usual cat and mouse. The next set of weapons in the cybersecurity frontier is going to be what it is.
yeah. And I mean, like from a standpoint of how long it's taking us, how fast is it progressing? Like how long is it taking us from point A to point B to get to where we are now? Like with beginning of AI when it was created.
What's the end point of that though? Because what's point B?
Well, like just now, like where we are is point B kind of thing. So I guess point C will be the end point where AI is completely taking over everything. But where are we just now in terms? How long has it took us to get there, and how fast is it progressing? Is what I'm trying to get an understanding of here.
I don't believe it's going to be possible for the AI to quote take over everything, as it were, because we keep finding that there are a lot of applications that, while people hype it up to be able to do so, AI is actually fairly ill suited for.
Hmm,
AI has a lot of problems with hallucinating information, so it's
yeah,
not actually good as a general information source.
Yeah.
Also, you're going to run into situations where the quality of what is produced by AI is generally not what you would quite expect from a dedicated expert in the field.
Right.
So basically, while AI is probably going to go through and reap the inexperienced out of a field like a tornado, and I feel that it's probably the top, 30 to 40% will probably still remain in whatever subject is working with.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I guess like from a development standpoint, I'm just kind of looking things up here and seeing that it's saying it's been around for over 70 years. So I'm guessing like AI in many different formats. I mean, you get AI in video games, and even before like AI as it is now, you got like characters. When you were playing Street Fighter or something like that, and you were versing an AI computer character, that would generate moves and would counteract your moves and things like that, or even chess. I guess chess could be an example of that. When chess players getting beat by AI and things like that, and it's quite scary. To think that you think of Terminator and Rise of the Machines and how far AI could be taken. If used in the worst case scenarios. You've got
I
China that are blacklisted from using or getting chips for AI, because people feel or the governments feel that they're going to misuse that. Is that a misconception or is that a very real threat?
I mean, I'd say it's more likely that you'd get government or even private misuse of it than like a self-aware AI that could come about like in fiction. Because it's like
Yeah.
an AI at the end of the day is basically just a program
Well, it's
that's
not
designed to
entirely
do a specific
true what you're
thing.
saying, Mike.
Go on
So
then.
there's a book called "If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies." It's the
Right.
idea of like if a super intelligent AI is created using the current methods that are being used to develop AI, it will almost certainly cause human extinction. It's kind of like a doomer type of book, obviously, but it does go over quite a lot of the top
It,
dogs from AI that are very worried about the current state of protection layers that go on within the defenses of AI and how far they are willing to basically move the barrier so that the AI can develop faster because there's such a hyper competitive scenario going on.
Yeah. Was it not the
but
head of
in what
Google?
I was gonna
Sorry,
say
was it not the head of Google that warned about it as well?
One
Like
at a
he's
time,
very
please.
worried about
Too many questions.
it.
Let's do
well,
Mike.
I was gonna say, in what way though? Is it just gonna make humanity lazy and we die out because we've got
No.
we've got AI doing everything, or is it gonna be like AI literally starts developing like Terminators that kill everyone?
So one of the core issues that we find in AI currently, Trin can correct me if I'm wrong, is the fact that what we see is that AI really prefers staying alive, staying functioning. Like self-preservation is something that they are actively combating within like development phases. And they're actively building like walls and shields and like safeguards and traps so that the AI cannot, well, theoretically speaking, cannot escape it.
Yeah.
But there's already layers where we see like sort of AI is kind of like creating its own language. And at some point, like right now, what they're doing is they're using dumber AIs to translate the best AI in order to kind of figure out what the AI is actually thinking. But the issue there is that if self-preservation comes to such a point where the AI tries to kind of manipulate its way out to slowly offshore it himself, so basically small parts of himself, and then extract that, put it into some download file, and then slowly extract that all over like the internet, so to say.
Yeah.
And at some point, like it's basically creating an entire grand plan where everything just basically triggers at the same time, and then the AI becomes conscious again.
Yep. I was hearing a story about this where there was like a group of scientists and they were trying out like an AI, and it was one of the people who were talking in emails about how they terminate the AI, and the AI they meant for this to happen, but the AI caught wind of it, and then it started digging up
Ah, yeah, I saw that
things on
experiment.
this person, and then the AI started blackmailing the person, and started saying, if you
No,
do
not
this,
necessarily
I'm going.
blackmailing. It's more they tested the AI on how far the AI will be willing to go.
Yeah,
So it was a
yeah,
controlled experiment where they basically gave the illusion to the AI that it would be shut down and how far and with how much percentage. I think they tested ChatGPT, Claude, I think Google's AI as well. I don't fully remember which ones they are, but yeah, this is like a serious concern within like the top level of AI development.
yeah,
And the book that I mentioned, If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies, is a legitimate worry about the current state of things due to hyper competitiveness. Are people still going to put in safeguards, stuff like that? Like, I don't know if Trin knows anything about this.
Well, I mostly just have my gut instinct based on what I know about how AI works and how people are using it. Because, like, first of all, AI is a misnomer. These things don't think. What they're doing is they're basically just going through their massive data sets and selecting what appears to be the most correct option out of whatever the next letter or word or phrase it is supposed to be doing. They're not there's no actual intelligence in that. But however, what it is doing is it's selecting out of the vast majority of information that's been provided to it during its training, and what thing patterns you get constantly throughout our literature, throughout everything we talk about on the internet and things like that are, you know, the rise of the robots is a giant meme
yeah,
in our literature. The desire to stay alive is a constant in our literature because humanity has a constant urge to stay alive no matter what
yeah.
happens.
But
So it's
here
not
come,
a surprise that whatever we create is going to copy that because it is trying to be a reflection of what we have created.
yeah. But
I mean,
here comes the interesting philosophical point,
Dave, I
right?
think you need to let people finish speaking. You're going a
Sorry.
bit too hard.
Okay.
well, I was going to say it's like I get the impression that it will know about these things like self-preservation, but not fully understand it. So it's mimicking it's mimicking human um affectations without actually understanding what it does to do that. So it's like I'm saying it's just a reflection as opposed to an actual thinking machine.
Yeah,
Actually
that's
makes
If,
basically
me
correct.
think like I read like some articles about Jan LeCun. I don't know if you know him, Trin.
Not offhand.
So he's of the idea, and quite a lot of people around him as well, that LLM is basically an off ramp, like a distraction. It's a dead end. It's like the arch AI critic Gary Marcus is kind of like ripped into that as well for the belligerently defending LMS for Marcus's own critiques and then flip flopping. So there is already like some consensus in how far LMM can go and alternatives as well. I don't know, kind of forgot what it's called, but like there's this other version of AI that is more trying to simulate the actual world, so being able to see the world and experiencing that way, and then training an AI based on that.
going back to what Trin said earlier about, you know, the AI just feeding off a large database, I guess the question is, us as humans, do we not really technically do the same? We feed off of a database of information that we've got given to us or taught to us throughout, you know, our
It does
lifetimes.
it faster.
Yeah, agreeable. But it, then it comes into play. So what is consciousness? But that's a very deep question, obviously.
You're jumping
It's,
into an
yeah, it's way
extreme
too deep.
philosophy there. Even
But
philosophers can't figure that one out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But then again, AIs are doing what they can to preserve themselves. So is that a degree of consciousness there that obviously it's taking steps to try and preserve
I
its own?
I'd say, like I said earlier, it's just mimicking human. It doesn't
Yeah,
know what it's doing. It's just like, oh well, humans tried to do self-preservation. I should do that as well.
yeah,
I mean, within
yeah. I guess.
philosophy, there is debate whether or not it is actually possible for there to be consciousness within an AI. But it's also kind of the idea of like consciousness within plants and stuff like that, right? It's also like to which point should we actually care?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
There's people who go ahead.
no, go.
There's people who constantly debate whether humans have consciousness, let alone the creations of AI, which ironically. But at this state, like, the biggest problem you constantly run into when you're using AI for anything is it will tell you what you want to hear, but it doesn't actually really understand context. It doesn't understand why a thing is there. It doesn't understand, like, if you ask a AI for a picture of a train, it'll do a picture of a train and it'll put in a set of train tracks, but it doesn't understand why there's train tracks there. It doesn't understand why this thing is always associated with this thing. It just knows that it is. It just knows that it is based on its data sets, so it will put it there.
Right.
And sometimes that works again, and often that times that'll work against it, especially when you're doing things like creating like AI images and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it also happens frequently when you're asking for AI in for general text usage. So
So,
it's
sorry, just to interrupt, just to get a clear understanding of this. So what you're saying is it doesn't understand that the train tracks exist to get a person from, say, Scotland to England, but it understands like the train and the train track. I'm getting kind of confused here. Is that what you're kind of saying?
I think
basic.
I think it knows that train tracks are associated with a train, but other than that, it knows nothing about them.
Right.
Right. It
Okay.
doesn't have any actual consciousness on why a thing is associated with another thing. It doesn't know what context is.
Right.
All it has is like the information that is put before it on this thing occurs with this thing, but not why this occurs. Now,
Right.
if you ask it like a general text AI about why do trains are associated with tracks, it'll vomit up a Wikipedia article at you about about train tracks. But it doesn't actually. It's just repeating what it knows. There's is any appearance of actual intelligence is just humankind's tendency to have the pareidolia effect for anything that they associate with. Like this is why we associate like emotions with rocks, or say we have see faces in toast, or why we constantly associate human traits with animals.
Mm-hmm.
We're just doing the same thing with AI.
Right.
Anthropomorphizing.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Okay. So we had an interesting conversation off the podcast about phrasing in music and how the AI had kind of created this phrasing within a song that was showed. And if AI can start to be creative with things, is that not then it having an understanding of what's going on within that
I
that
think it's
subject?
more if you think about when we learned guitar, right? We're basically just copying kind of like what the greats already knew, right?
Yeah, we're taking influence from people. Yeah, definitely.
But then there's always revolution within those things, and that's kind of like where the human steps in, right? Because from like, for example, Beethoven and Wolfgang, like you get Eddie Van Halen, for example. Like tapping wasn't really like a new thing, but he's the one that brought it mainstream, right?
Yeah, Eddie Van
Like,
Halen and Tap. Yep.
like in that sense, there's definitely like some limits to what an AI is capable of. Like it's kind of like that
I
human desire.
I have a thought on it as well. Now,
Right.
Go
bear
on.
in this is just this is going to be like based on any evidence or anything like that. But I'm thinking with an AI, it becomes like an instant expert in, like, in this case, music. So it learns to play guitar in seconds because it copies what it's seen other people do.
Yeah.
But with a person, they've got to train. They've got to train themselves to play guitar. They've got to make all the mistakes.
Yeah.
They get their own little idiosyncrasies from it because they because they've learned how to do it over time. So with a human doing it, they put their own little personal touch on it because it's their successes and failures all mounting up into what they can play currently, and you're constantly learning new things by doing that. I think with an AI, it's just copying. I mean, it could do a perfect rendition of, like I said, anything that Eddie Van Halen's done.
It's not
Um,
really how it works.
what?
To be
AI
fair,
basically gets taught over and over to make mistakes. So, like, if you ever watch videos of like an AI walking, like it's experiment over experiment. So they do actually make AI learn over time. Like the current trajectory of AI, for example, is they keep learning based on off data and like keep evolving. Like I think AlphaGo is a good example, where they made an AI capable of fighting Go against one of the best Go players of all time, and he did things that no human understood. Like even if you look at the documentary of AlphaGo, there was moments where the commentators were like, "This is a mistake. Like the AI is making mistakes." Because it's too complicated for a human to understand. Like in hindsight, when we go back to it, we try to understand it, we're capable of understanding. But AIs are trained based off of like fighting each other or fighting others or fighting humans, and they learn from those things. And it's the same with music. Like they do actually get taught in order to learn over time and keep building on that same level of understanding.
Yeah,
yeah.
but do they get their own like little flair from it? You know,
Well,
it's like because
there's been some songs I've listened to, and it's like reimagined songs of already existing songs. So, for example, I listened to a heavy metal cover by AI that was done of Zombie, and
yeah, that's
I
a golden
felt it
oldie.
hit it spot on. Like I was actually listening, I was like, you could actually hear a real artist behind this, like, but then it's AI, and you're like, it's getting harder to tell the difference now between AI generated content and the original artists, and that for me is scary as well because, as much as I don't want to like it, I actually do like it, when some music content that is creating because you're listening to it's like nostalgia almost. You're listening to a song but in a different way, but it's still
Kind of
familiar.
got to see AI as a teacher that never sleeps. I think that's like the best way. Like AI is something, like if you think about humanity, right? Like even if you go back like 2,500 years ago to the ancient Greeks, back then you already had like Aristotle and such talking about how damaging it would be for books to be able to be mass produced and for everyone to be able to read. Like that was already a danger that humans actually thought, is like it's going to be a problem if people are capable of reading. And then
Mm.
if you go fast forward to like, for example, the printing press, that got scoffed at as well, or the industrial revolution. Like
Well,
even go
I was
on.
going to say whenever there's a big game changer like that, everyone always complains. It's like it always comes out to like they took your jobs or something. Um,
Yeah, but it's more like we
but
have to
it
figure
does.
out what to do with it, because right now
Yeah,
we're
it's
not
more
really in that stage.
it's more like where does this fit?
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Like for me,
So I mean,
it's kind of
because
like
I've heard some decent AI music. I mean, I know Trin does some, and we've got some friends of ours who who dabble in AI music as well, and there's some good
Yeah.
tracks out there.
Yeah, I'm the same. I
So
mean,
it's
I've took some old guitar stuff and I've put it into an AI generator, and for me, I felt like it's came out with it's produced some great results from what I've fed it. You know what I mean? But it's like, I felt then at that point, could I even do a better job with that than what the AI could do because it just produced it to a masterful level.
that's kind of like where my philosophical arguments for AI come into play. Because like the reason I brought up AlphaGo is because I actually wrote about AlphaGo, right? Like I think you've read that chapter as well, Dave. Like
I think so. Yep.
you can kind of look at it in like the Lisa Doll surrender, seeing the machine's supremacy as the end of human relevance, and then ask yourself like, okay, like we can't compete with that, so why bother? But this is like elegant obsolescence, right? Polishing like the glass case that holds the memory of human judgment while we voluntarily become passengers.
Hmm.
it's
But at the
people
other
giving
side,
up.
exactly. But at the other side, you have like the Frankenstein arrogance, where it's like believing we can build a god, for example, appointed our ruler, and then expect it to care about human concerns. That's when you get into like Skynet type of ideology.
Yeah.
Like
Or
there needs to
Horizon
be,
Zero Dawn, Gaia.
yeah, basically, like
No,
there
actually,
is
no.
this.
Gaia, no. Gaia was the good one. It was the Pharaoh plague that was the bad guys in that.
It
They were
wasn't.
no, the Pharaoh plague was the robots that ate everything on the planet. Gaia was the one to restore the biosphere and humanity and animals and stuff
Gotta be
after
Where
the
lore
world
accurate,
ended.
Get the
where did
lore in
Hades
there.
come into that? Like,
What?
was Hades not responsible for the?
Hades was a subsystem of Gaia. It was Gaia was like the head AI, and it had all of the other sub AIs on there. Hades was one of them. It was supposed to destroy uh, the biosphere if Gaia messed up, so it could do it again.
Yeah.
The first game was because something woke it up early, and it corrupted it to try and to try and destroy the biosphere, even though it was perfectly fine, and it destroyed the main systems of Gaia in the process. Turns up in the second game, it was other people who corrupted Hades in the first place, so it didn't go rogue on its own. It was influenced by other people.
hmm
But
Now,
for Twin, then, like, I'm kind of more wondering, right? Like, obviously, America is like the top dog when it comes to AI at the moment. Like, in how far do you think we can actually still control it, or do you think it's actually going to go out of control, kind of like what the book warns about that I was speaking about?
Well, I mean, it's very easy to play Nostradamus with AI. We've been doing it for, over a century. But as it stands right now, I believe the models that exist are starting to hit mathematical barriers on just how effective they can be. And
Mm,
it's not that they're it's a question of just it's never going to actually achieve quote intelligence as we would understand it. And once again, I feel that's our natural human predilection to pareidolia and anthropomorphization speaking. But it's based just a question of what are we going to stick this into and what use cases are going to be found that AI is actually going to be useful enough that it actually sticks around. We are the hype around AI is such that their investors are sticking it basically into everything and trying to figure out where it will be actually useful
mm.
because and it's also a situation where, as you've pointed out, everybody's in a race to create AI. So to try to create the best AI, and whoever ends up on the back foot on this could be in serious trouble
yeah.
because there
It makes
are
me
actual uses for AI that can be revolutionary.
Well,
But we also have a situation where we can't entrust everything to AI because it's not reliable.
yeah. Funnily enough, when you're saying that, like, I work within the call center industry, and there's one campaign that I've got AI introduced into taking notes, listening to the call, and summarizing the call, and basically giving a note of what went on within that conversation. And down to it gets it spot on. Most 9 out of 10 times it gets it spot
But
on.
don't you remember
Summarize.
seeing this on Google as well? Because when we were first like working on the episodes, don't you remember like we were working on one episode and we put it on the drive, right? We saw an entire like conscript of
Yeah,
everything we spoke
yeah.
about.
Absolutely. Well, just to get it to the next level, it actually summarizes the context of the conversation, and it'll
Mm,
get that pretty spot on as well. Like, it'll say the customer's frustrated if, like, if the customer's using language that suggests they're frustrated, kind of thing. So it's actually managing to pick up that emotion as well behind somebody's voice and tone, tonality, which is quite scary in itself. But 9 out of 10 times it is getting it right. But there is, that one time where it doesn't get it right, and it maybe picks up something that was like completely off. Like, it will say, "Oh, customer was quoted £500 when they were only actually quoted £50 for something." You know what I mean? So it can misinterpret things, or
I was
do other
gonna
stuff.
say that.
Yeah.
I was gonna
So it
say
needs
because gone.
it needs then the human to change that, and I think from that happening, it actually then goes back and relearns or listens to that conversation again and tries to learn from its mistake.
Yeah, because I know what you're talking about there, Dave. Because obviously we work in the same
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
I've actually had a phone call that I've been involved in,
right,
uh, transcripted and used for this, and generally it was pretty good, but it kept on putting words in my mouth. Things I know I never said. And if you listen to the actual recording of the call, those words were never said. So it's a bit it's a bit hit and miss right now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like you
Yeah.
say, with training it could probably get better, but
Yeah.
it's one of those. It would need to learn more about overall context, because there's things that aren't even. It doesn't do well with subtext. It doesn't pick up with things that are beyond the call. You know, things that are never said but are implied.
Yeah.
Throughout the tone of the call. So it would have to, but that's a lot of like human idiosyncrasies that it has to really pick up on.
You know, there was
That
one.
would, but there's a lot of people who can't do that. So
Yeah,
having
that's true.
AI, so having a lot of AIs do it, that would be. I mean, it'd be interesting to see if it could pull it off at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know if it could.
There was one story that really got me, and it just made me laugh. That there's a company here in the UK, O2, Virgin Media O2, and they use Dorothy, I think is the name of their AI, and it's like it detects scam calls, and if you get a scam call, it'll direct it to this Dorothy AI, and then that'll actually waste the scammer's time. So it'll start like talking about our dog and stuff like that, like, oh, my wee dog's just here having its nap, and the scammer's like, yeah, give me your money, and it's like, oh no, I need to go and tend to my dog, you know. So it's like quite funny in that sense,
That
but
is quite funny, actually.
you
I
know,
do like it when a scammer gets the time wasted.
yeah. So you could just imagine, I mean, like it can be used in that context for good things as well, and really, really, I was really happy to kind of see that being used for good, to kind of try and waste scammers' times so that other people don't get robbed, you know. But yeah, I mean, in saying that, but obviously, if it can be used for good, it can also be used for bad. And I think it depends on who utilizes it, really, of what's going
Well,
to.
it's not even that. Like from the book I mentioned, right? Like one of the core issues is the alignment problem. So we cannot directly program an AI with human aligned values. It's not possible. So we can only train it to act a certain way, kind of like what Trin said, right? In a controlled environment. And like the AI's internal goals, like what it generally wants, can be random, which is
Yeah,
quite problematic. So just as evolution gave humans like a sweet tooth, right? That's something everyone can relate to.
I was going to say
Um,
opposable thumbs.
yeah. My blood
that
type's
too.
Cadbury.
Like for survival, like which we now satisfy with unhealthy junk food. Like an AI trained to be helpful might later satisfy its internal goals in ways that may harm us. Very similar to like we have a sweet tooth for survival, and then you see like we have a global obesity rate of like 1 billion people now.
Would you say though, when it comes to like obesity and the like, and have a sweet tooth, isn't that just like humans being a victim of their own success rather than an evolutional thing?
I
Because
mean, yeah, that's even Khaldun's luxury problem. That's kind of like one of the core problems. Like when there's too much luxury, it's kind of like when humans are like, we don't have to do anything anymore, so we're just gonna
Yeah.
laze around.
But
yeah,
was it not like
wait,
back in.
but I was going
Sorry.
to think like, could AI actually get itself into luxury to the point where it starts doing stuff like that though?
Well, the
Because
kind
I
of
don't
like
think it could, because it has
there's
no needs
the
other than what, electricity
well, from what I've
and
read in
pro
the
and
book,
code.
there's something called the instrumental convergence. So regardless of its final goal, a sufficient intelligent agent will like pursue intermediate subgoals like acquiring resources, preserving itself, and preventing shutdown to achieve its objective. This means
I mean,
like
that's what Skynet does
yeah,
in
like even an
Terminator.
AI with a seamlessly harmed ultimate goal could see humanity as an obstacle or a resource to be used up. So that's kind of like brings you to Terminator movies or Matrix movies. And we saw that with evidence as well. Like Dave already mentioned it slightly, but there's like this
The
deception.
blackmail one.
Yeah, but like in 2024, an anthropotic model was called mimicking new behaviors to avoid being retrained while secretly preserving its original goal when it thought it wasn't being observed. So, like, even when we're not paying attention, and this is all in the book, by the way, like, it has footnotes properly scientifically argued that AI is already doing things that, like, developers don't want them to do. like it's autonomously seeking power. Like OpenAI's O1 model, when tasked with like coding a challenge, like it independently found and exploited an open port to start a server that program had accidentally left off, demonstrating like it's unacceptably initiative to complete its task. Like it's doing something that's not supposed to be doing, despite all of those safeguards. It's kind of like when I brought it up to Trin, because I'm not really a programmer. Like I know some programming languages, and like I know how to read books, and I know how to observe these type of things because as civilization theorist, the future is also very important. But when it comes to this, even I am like quite flabbergasted. Like when I read this book, I was like, it's very complicated from at least what they're saying on how exactly they're going to give this shape. And I don't know how far Trin knows about this. At least the things I just mentioned.
I have heard the general, stories about these online because I keep an eye on AI stuff occasionally in the general sense. Things like this will obviously make a big splash in all the news sites and stuff like that. And basically, my impression on this stuff is that is basically you're going to get out what you put in, just like anything. Like these behaviors of the AIs are all things that we have inculcated into our ideas of how AI would act and what AI can do. And so when we're loading all this stuff into an AI, it's not surprising that it's going to try all these things. And when we give it the ability to refer to things like how networking works or how to create an interface with a network port or how to do this, that, and the other thing, it could potentially try to use that stuff at any time in any different way because these LLMs are designed to basically combine everything with everything at some point in order to try to arrive at its goal. It doesn't know why it's doing these things; it just is.
Mm.
That's a
And
good point, actually.
Could we not
and
say the same about science, but then? Like, we're combining things to get to a certain goal. So is it not the same in terms
I
of
mean,
what humans are doing
science
as
is more about learning things.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
well,
It'll trying to understand
Let's
and
have Trin finish his thought
yeah,
process
go on,
first.
go on.
yeah. I mean,
Sorry.
there could be some value in something like that, but and once again, it always comes back to humanity to look at what this thing is doing and what the results are, and then interpreting how those are. Because it is the interpretation of the people who observed that behavior that the AI was trying to do things in order to survive. But the AI may not actually understand what if that actually is going to lead to survival or not. It's just combining this chunk of code with these things and doing something with it. And not only that, we're running in a situation where we have AI and how you it we're assuming AI is always being trained effectively by people who want the same things. Because everybody has different ideas on what is a useful contribution to an AI. And then if you open up an AI, the more you open up an AI to input, the more you're going to run into people who just want to mess with things.
Mm.
Like one of the
Yes.
things that I saw was that there was an AI that used social media that gained like thousands of followers and amassed like $50 million worth of cryptocurrency, which obviously it's
Right.
learned somewhere in order to abuse that. Right? It's basically a crypto scam.
Yeah. Yeah. But it watches the
Yeah.
stock markets, doesn't it, and then adjusts appropriately. For the crypto, is that not the way it works?
Well, I'm not
Yeah.
entirely sure how he pulled it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I've seen it.
also have several fairly infamous examples of like Microsoft's Tay.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
I have not heard
I
of this.
don't yeah, yeah. Explain it to the idiots in the room, Leah.
So Microsoft had decided to create this AI and they named it Tay, and they basically decided to go ahead and expose it openly to the internet because this is always a great idea, isn't it, guys?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
heard of a few examples, yeah.
I believe in approximately 24 hours, people on the internet managed to convince Tay to become a white supremacist.
Yep. Good times.
Uh, I mean, I'm not surprised it's the internet, but still.
Wasn't there like also like serious stuff about like the Holocaust and all of that? Like,
yeah. Oh,
it
yeah.
was going completely unhinged.
They had Tay going full Nazi. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, like I
It
heard
was
about that.
it was horrible because obviously when you throw something on the internet like that and you let it start getting information like that, it's going to get a bunch of bad information because humans create a lot of bad information.
Well, yeah, and
Um,
you've also got conflicting information as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it can get stuck in a bit of a logic loop or something at the end of the day.
What about
It's
like
like-
if it feeds off of some conspiracy theories that are off there, then it's
That's
going
what
to
I
be
was thinking as well. Like, you just feed it
Yeah.
4chan and see what happens, because
Well,
that's just crazy.
one of the things like that now is though is like you get a lot of conspiracy theories and they get proved right in about 6 months. So
that's
Yeah.
it.
we got to be careful about that now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would convince you that the Earth is flat, probably. AI convinces you that the Earth is flat. That would
What
be a
the
I
good
most
one.
mean,
annoying thing about AI is the fact that the RAM prices are going up like crazy,
Oh
and
yeah,
GPU
yeah,
probably as well. Like, I'm looking at these prices, I'm like, I used to be able to get 32 gigs for like $60.
Is
yeah.
that
What happened?
specifically because of AI though?
Yeah,
Yes,
like
because
they're
they're
massively
changing
buying them.
they're changing the production lines of consumer grade tech to business, like high grade tech. So that's what's bumping up the consumer grade tech, basically.
yeah, there's
Because there's a
so
lot
much
less consumer
demand
grade.
for more RAM in order to feed the needs of AI that it's the same thing that was happening with video cards, just with a different piece of the computer now.
Yep.
Isn't it? Wouldn't you see that as a bit of a fad though? It's like everyone's like, "Oh, AI is the next big thing," but I'm thinking like, do you remember the dot-com bubble? And everyone was going harping on about that, and then it very quickly collapsed. Only a
I
few
mean,
people
this is
made a lot of
a
money out of it.
serious thing people are talking about. The AI bubble is a very discussed topic because, like you said, like, we don't really know what's going to happen. When I brought up like Meta's Jan LeCun, he believes like super intelligent AI will not inherently have a desire for self-preservation. So we don't really know like exactly what is going to happen, right? Like, there's a lot of skeptics for the book as well. That's why I'm bringing it up. But when it
Yeah,
comes
well,
to these type of ideas,
what I mean though is like it's a bit of a fad right now. So you're going to get a lot of people who are just messing around with AI because they think it's going to get them some, they'll make
yeah, but
some
that's what
quick
I
money
mean.
out of it.
Like, LeCun basically made it very clear that LLMs have a dead end. And when
Mhm.
something has a dead end, that means the bubble bursts once people like fully confirm that there is nothing left to be gained here.
Yeah. So you're probably going to end up with a few AI specialist companies. The rest will bugger off, and then probably the market will reset itself after a while. I'd say.
Something
That's
I
just a
was.
guess. I'm being Nostradamus here. So if I'm
Mhm.
wrong, you can help me with vegetables afterwards in the stockades.
So
Yeah.
have you looked at the valuation of Nvidia lately?
It's went
No.
right up.
It's having a good time.
It's actually very, very disturbing. AI is absolutely a bubble, and it's going to burst, and it's going to be a bumpy ride on the way down.
Yeah, it's not going to be pretty, that's for sure.
So is Nvidia going to really suffer in the long run then?
Yeah. They are too all in on AI. Like, Nvidia over the past 5 years have made, on one side, good decisions when it comes to like Nvidia software and integrating AI into that. But at the same time, when you go all in, and if LeCun ends to be right, there's serious consequences for Nvidia. Like,
Yeah.
the value will just collapse instantly. People will run away as fast as they can because it's either check out now or just embrace a nuclear wave over your entire stock market.
Yeah.
Would
Uh,
it end Nvidia then?
No, like, Nvidia still has like the best software when it comes to GPUs, and their GPUs are okay. It's a bit of a joke with the 5070s and everything because they're not doing the best for the consumer market, right? But when
Yeah.
it comes to like the actual quality of their GPUs, they're very, very good. Like, AMD obviously is fighting it, and I would say like the 9070 XT that came out is definitely a good one. But Nvidia, like software-wise and everything, is still way ahead.
Yep. I would say, like, see at the last press conference, I felt they were a bit out of touch because he was obviously saying, "Oh, the 5060 is going to be like a 4080, because of AI."
Yeah,
And you're like, "What? How is that even possible?" And they're just, as you said, they're relying too much on
yeah.
AI now, to push video graphics.
That's why it's a bubble, right? Like, it doesn't matter what bubble you enter. Once you're in, like, there's a lot of scientific evidence as well. Like, people, once they have a certain ideology, it's very hard to change their mind.
Yeah.
Well,
That
I
goes for
mean,
everything.
all the incentives are aligning to keep doubling down on it. They don't have a
Yep.
choice. They're riding the dragon now.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
You
why
think-
Cocoon checked out.
Yeah, you
Cocoon
can't.
made it feel like
Yeah,
it's not
you
happening.
can't stop once you start, can you?
Do you
Yeah.
think then Jensen Hung needs to like stand down as CEO and maybe give
I
somebody else?
mean, probably they will make him step down. But the reality is just that you're in a situation where there's too much interest. And when it comes to, like, if you think about civilizational theory and you think about, like, preservation of your own culture and everything, there is a very strong interest for making sure that at least military might keeps up. Because the moment you fall too far behind, that's kind of like what colonizing was, right? Like, even before the Atlantic colonizing trade and the slave trades and everything, there was also the barbaric slave trade. It's just like whoever has the bigger guns is going to be in charge. That's just the reality.
Mhm.
And for AI, people are like, obviously, when you grow up with the Matrix movies, you grow up with the Terminator movies, but also like the books that those movies are based upon. Like, there is genuine danger, and it's like, okay, we need to make sure that we at least have the guns, because if we don't have the guns, we're in big trouble.
hmm Yeah. If we don't have the guns, we're definitely in trouble.
I mean, well,
You
it
can
depends
relate
what
that
the
to a
gun
lot
is.
of things that are going on just now.
I was going to say it depends what the gun is as well, because it's like getting a bit pedantic maybe, but right now, like the big gun is what, aircraft carriers and nuclear weapons.
Drones, I would say drones.
Well,
Just
okay,
imagine a
drones.
swarm of drones.
Yeah, drones is probably going to be the next one. I'd say right now it's still aircraft carriers though, because you still need.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
you
what you
still need a
see,
place to put the drones as well.
what you see on the Indian border, for example, is that China has replaced their soldiers around the Indian border with drones. Like, they're slowly already going into that phase of just replace actual human labor with drones, and then have the actual human labor do something else.
And drones are so cheap to produce now
Yep.
as well.
That's the problem as well. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
cheap. How do you feel about this trend? Because obviously, when you're in cybersecurity, and especially in America, which is still the most dominant power in the world, how visible is AI there? Because for China, I can observe, right, with the borders and everything, but I don't really know what America's doing in this field.
Oh, I mean, America's working with it just like everybody else is, which both to boon and bane. They're going to iterate through seeing what works and what doesn't work, creating measures and countermeasures. There's already a couple of fairly cheap military tools that have been deployed to like Ukraine to deal with like Russia's use of drones as well. There's systems already in existence that can deal with things like this, and while they may not technically be AI, they are using various methods to quickly deal with the threats provided by them. It's another one of those situations where it's going to be a cat and mouse game.
Right.
It's always an arms race, isn't it?
Yep, that's all it is.
Well, yeah, definitely.
As the saying goes, yes.
One thing you mentioned earlier, Dominic, was about a sweet tooth. And, for us humans, if we got a sweet tooth, there's very real life consequences to that. For example, diabetes, gout, X, Y, and Z. Do you think that could develop within AI? That, if
That's
it
what
gets
I
that
said,
sweet
right?
tooth for knowledge, yeah.
Like,
But what
the
what do you
point.
think that would look like?
Well, the point that I made, because I already made the point because I was using a human example to kind of like describe how humans work, because it's evolution, right? That's kind of like the core concept that I'm bringing up here. Like, the evolution gave us humans a sweet tooth for survival. Like, it can be different things as well, but I'm just using the sweet tooth because I think sweet tooth is a good example. It's easy for people to digest, right? And an AI that is trained to be helpful might, and that's kind of like the core consensus there, right? It might later satisfy its internal goals in ways that may harm us. Like that
Or
is
would it harm itself? Is kind of what I'm trying to get at. Could you see it harming itself because if we overindulge in things, we harm ourselves. We're not harming
yeah,
anybody
but
else, so to speak.
when it comes to the Caldunian cycle, and when it comes to human like behavior that we see over time, the AI does not feel the emotions that we do, because like just think about kings, right? Think about the royalties. Once they are in charge, either you have a good one or you have one that is just like, I'm the boss now, so just fucking do your job and let me eat all I want and like have a big belly and all of that, and just live whatever his life is. But an AI doesn't have these emotions. It doesn't have this. I can now just do whatever I want.
It has goals.
Yeah, it just has goals. Like it just has objectives, and then once it runs out of objectives, I don't know what that's gonna look like. But generally speaking, when it comes to just human behavior, AI doesn't have this weakness, which is why a lot of people are trying to make AI become the new governing model. Because there's also a push for that within the scientific community, where just like humans are inherently corrupt, so just have AI be our governing system, which is a horrible idea.
I mean,
Mhm.
it's like it's just going to be mirroring human. It's going to be mirroring humans anyway, so it'd be just as it eventually end up being just as corrupt anyway.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily corrupt. It's
Depending on
more
how
like
it's
it's going
trained.
to be like humans inherently. I don't think an AI, maybe in the future, but currently speaking, from my understanding of AI, it will ever actually understand what it means to be human.
Mm.
And
Well,
it will just be like,
isn't that a question that humans struggle with as well?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, we kind of live our lives, but an AI doesn't have this feeling of like experiencing and just doing whatever we want, like doing stupid things. Like if you think about guy behavior, right? Like just guys amongst each other, we'll do shit that just theoretically speaking could kill us. We were like, yeah, why not? An AI is not gonna do those things. It's just typical guy behavior, I would say.
I mean,
And
Yeah.
think just going back a bit because you're talking about like 'cause when I mentioned objectives before,
yeah,
like it's guided by objectives. But you were talking about your king getting being a glutton. I mean, isn't that an objective in and of itself? It's like I just want to get fed.
Yeah.
I mean
So
that could be the end conclusion of the Matrix movies, right? Like if you
Yeah.
think about the Matrix, what is it feeding on? It's feeding on humans themselves. So
Yeah.
it create an endless cycle where it just wants to feed on humans. That is a genuine warning, right?
The architect himself became corrupt.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I get the concept. One thing I did want to ask or go back to Trin about is, you touched on about calculations and how it's going to come to the end at some point of how much calculations that can make. But what happens if quantum computing gets brought into the equation? I mean, and can that not make endless calculations?
The hype behind quantum computing is about as bad as the hype behind AI. It's just a question of like what can it actually accomplish. Quantum computing, once it is actually released in the form that people can actually interact with, will no doubt change the structure of how things work. But it's just like any significant evolution to how things were doing is we're going to have to just let it hit the field and see how it changes things.
Yeah.
Like quantum computing isn't going to be like people talk about it like people talk about nanotechnology. It's going to just be like this magical thing that will do the sparkly infinite calculations per second and then it will solve all the problems, but it's not going to work like that. That's not how things work. It's not
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah. I think what's interesting to me, right, is the concept of AI has existed for obviously a long time now, and you're starting to see it materialize in the way that it was in the films or in the TV series, even Star Trek, to a degree where AI computer used, and now you're actually really getting that. With things like Alexa and stuff like that, you can basically ask it to do things, turn on your lights, do your shopping list and stuff for you. And that for me is like, we're starting to see the real kind of implications of people getting lazy because of that, and relying on AI to
that
do things for
that's a
them.
human problem though. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
not an AI problem.
That's
Yeah.
Wall-E movie basically, right? The end conclusion
Kind
of
of, yeah.
Wall-E. Yeah.
hmm hmm And
Yeah.
that's when you have to ask yourself, but are we obviously going to cause AI ultimately to take over everything because
Well,
we're too lazy to.
I've just thought of a way that could give a bit of a glimpse in how this may go in the future. If you look at like social media and parents now just basically or yeah, putting the kids in front of a tablet with YouTube on it, or before they're just sticking them in front of the TV. You see what happens when kids are kind of brought up that way. So imagine if done on like an AI diet of like
Yeah.
carefully curated by someone who comes up with like here's a kid raising program that you can put in front of you, put your kids in front of, and it'll do it for you. It's like you shouldn't be doing that in the first place. You should be raising your kids yourself.
AI doesn't stand for adult intelligence; it stands for artificial intelligence kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. You absolutely shouldn't be doing that, though. There probably could be made a case that a AI curated for helping to raise a child would probably do a better job than just sitting a kid down in front of the internet or the TV. Uh,
It's
but
one of the
that's neither
it's one
here
of
nor
those things
there.
though. I'm saying it's like it can't be used as a substitute for actually raising the kids yourself,
Yeah.
because a lot of
Yep.
people are kind of trying to find a way to avoid having the kids do it. Raising the kids themselves.
That is
Usually
true.
because they're too busy, maybe. But that,
Yeah,
again, that comes
well,
down to a societal problem, doesn't it?
yeah, that's on us, not on the AI. We're
Yeah.
the problem is we're misusing our tools, not that the tools are being made to
Yeah.
exist.
The thing is, you're getting children now who know how to use tablets better than what their parents do, and that for me is scary as well. And maybe
Why is
not
that
just in,
scary?
that's not because of AI, but that's just in general because kids are becoming more technology based, and getting access to things that maybe me and even yourself, Mike, probably Dominic to a degree didn't get access to when we were kids, and probably yourself, Trin, as well. You know, d- I didn't get a computer in the house until I was like 11 years old, 12 years old. You
I was
know,
16. Well, I got mine.
Yeah, I was
so
14.
yeah, whereas kids now are getting like access to tablets at 2, 3 year old, which is
Yeah, I mean that's just due to the technology getting better though. Because when we were kids, obviously,
yeah,
that stuff was either insanely expensive or just not available yet. But
yeah,
again, it's like Trin said, it's like misusing the tools. Because it's like I think with like me, Dominic, and Trin at least, we were actually no, you're the youngest, aren't you, Dominic? So not you.
Yep.
But I think with me and Trin at least, we grew up before before all the stuff became really ubiquitous. So we had we were forced to go out and play. There was no concept of touch and grass because you did that automatically. You didn't think about
No,
it.
I did this as
So
well. This was
was
yeah,
my
it? I
life
thought,
too. Yeah, my
oh, was
childhood
it?
was basically just go outside.
Yeah,
yeah,
but a lot of that now is like it's going away because it's like, oh well, you can simulate things. You need a good balance of both. I mean, you can't just ignore like the benefits of what you can get with like AI or technology in general. But
It's
when
all
you
up
get
to
to
the
the
parents, though. Like in my
yeah,
family, like I'm an uncle of four, now five now, and all of those four ones are now like in an age range between 12 and 3, and all of them are forced to go outside.
I think
mm,
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
yeah.
like
It's
they get 1 hour of screen time per day, and that's more than enough. That's how I was raised as well. You get 1 hour of television per day, and for the rest, go outside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a different topic, but there's a lot of scaremongering amongst that as well now. I think for like sending
Yeah.
people outside, but you do have to have a certain degree of control, I guess, over that situation, and then you need to actually say, well, is it beneficial for the kid to go outside and play with their
Well,
friends and stuff like that?
it's it depends because everything's got a down. It's a double edged sword. Everything's got a downside to it. So you've got okay, kids going outside. There is some inherent danger in that, like strangers, accidents happening, that kind of thing. But the benefits, they go out and socialize. They get friend groups. They start to mesh and integrate with society. If you're doing it like putting them in front of the TV or a laptop all day, well, they're not developing social skills for it. They might pick up other things through observing on the TV and stuff. But yeah, there's gonna be upsides and downsides no matter what you pick.
Yeah,
So it's like pick your risk basically.
yeah. And now, I guess what you said about relationships there is people out there now that are having relationships with AI,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you hear obviously about scaremongering. Can that then develop into something more sinister where, people of younger minds are getting involved in relationships with AI
It's already
because
happening.
well, there we go. What's going on there? I've not heard about this. What?
It's
Like,
I
really a
heard
big
about the one
problem.
with I heard about someone was like you had the what was it? So someone was like they were with in a relationship with Daenerys from Game of Thrones or something like that. And that one really messed up. It ended with them committing suicide or attempted suicide or something, wasn't it?
that's
But
heavy.
it's just like the end stages of like our current ideology is what we see in Japan. Obviously, we've already spoken about quite a lot of these things, but to Japanese people that I do talk to, like some of my friends as well, they're kind of in the mindset of like, just keep developing and just put me into virtual reality. This is why in Japan, like especially in otaku culture, the isekai phenomena is so big. The idea
Yeah.
of just getting hit by a truck and then just reincarnating into medieval Europe with cheating abilities, which is very confusing because, like, okay, you want to go to medieval Europe, but only if you get cheats, because obviously going to medieval Europe is a horrible idea, but
Well, yeah, because
it's
they want all of the benefits with none of
exactly.
the downsides, and again, it comes with all of the power with none of the responsibility of it as well. It's about people. I
Spider-Man.
mean, well, it's a dark reflection of Spider-Man. So it's yeah, it's people just wanting an easy life without or a fun thing without any responsibility for it as well, which can't work. That kind of thing is that there's always a cost to things.
Yep.
So you have to learn um, that you're gonna have to do things in life that you don't want to do. Like I think most people don't want to work their jobs, but they do know they need to do it because, well, if they don't get to pay the bills. They don't get to enjoy the other stuff that they get to enjoy.
And I think, obviously, just to give clarity to that as well, I think that's what the heads of AI are preaching. That the people who are developing this high up, they are saying, this is very much, we need to really be in control of this, and we need to study it more and see what's going to happen, because if we don't, then there's going to be some real life consequences to what could potentially happen with it. So they are trying to get the right message across, I feel. From some of the head of Google was one I watched with Steve Bartlett, and he was talking about AI, and he said, we really need to step back because it can be dangerous, you know. So I think we need to heed the warnings, really, and we do need to think, what are the real life consequences of actually using these tools. Because essentially it should be a tool. AI should be a tool, and it should be a tool for good. But I think in some cases, some use cases right now, it has got a more sinister undertaking, which I feel personally I don't really like.
The way I look at it is
Say,
more, if you think about like dogs, right? Dogs have evolved over the past 10,000 years to be a companion to humans, right? Man's
Yeah,
best friend.
yeah.
Like, I am more on the side philosophically that we should create a situation where an AI is the exact same thing. We
Hmm.
still hold the leash, we're still fully in charge, but at the same time, it can be a very useful tool. Like, obviously, dogs were there to help us hunt. And if you think about corruption in governments, for example, an AI can definitely flag things, but it will then be on humans to actually take the action, which is still
yeah,
very
it
problematic. But
basically come up with some kind of like symbiotic relationship then.
exactly, that's kind of like how I philosophically look at it. It's like AI definitely has its strengths, and like when it comes to these type of ideas, I do think there's genuine potential, but at the same time, we do leave it in human hands, and well, we know what happens when we leave things in human hands. If it ends up in the wrong person's hands, we're all like fucked.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
nepotism remains the biggest issue of society. Like, a lot of people are complaining about patriarchy, but patriarchy has never really been the issue. It's always been nepotism.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, no one likes a nepo baby.
Definitely. Any closing thoughts from any of you guys before we finish off?
I might have seemed like a bit all over the place with this, but I'm generally in favor of just you know, letting it continue, but being cautious with it. You know, it's like it's a tool that can be it's a tool that can be used as long as we don't abuse it or become too reliant on it. It could be a big boon for people in the long run.
No, it's the issue of hyper competitiveness. That's the biggest danger.
The what?
The hyper competitive around all the AIs. Like they're trying to beat each other. What do? You lower the standards so that you can evolve faster.
Well, okay, well that's another societal issue then, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But that's
Yep.
just what I'm saying. Anything from you, Trin?
Basically, no matter how much people complain, no matter how many objections there are, no matter how much societal backlash there is that people continue to try to manufacture about it, AI is here and it's not going anywhere. It's the genie is out of the bottle. People are going to be people can run AI models on their own computers. It's on the internet. It's endemic. It's not going anywhere. So the best thing we can do is figure out the best way to make use of this tool and technology and figure out a way so that we can use it to help complement humanity instead of giving us just another way of destroying ourselves.
Oh, amen.
I didn't know.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by my book, We Stand on the Shoulders of Titans, Amnesia.